It is day 2 of the CITIC CLSA Investors Forum in Hong Kong. So far we've spoken about the global economy, AI, as well as autonomous driving. Let's zoom in now on gaming with our next guest, who is Nexon's President and Chief Executive, Owen Mahoney. Owen, just in very broad brushstrokes, give us a sense of the opportunity that AI gives to you in your industry.
Well, we think that AI is one of the most revolutionary things that's happening for the video games industry and certainly for online games. You know, a lot of times our industry goes through these generations of hype cycles. You know, we heard a lot about esports a few years ago and a lot about streaming media and so on, but this one is one we actually really believe in. And there's a variety of factors to it. They're not the obvious ones that people are talking about. We're less excited right for now about things like LLMs, you know, large language models. But the impact that it could have on game development is significant. It'll probably also democratize game development very significantly. We use it today, and we have been using it in our live game operations, but we also use it for things like locomotion. So previously we had to do what's called motion capture. We had to do hand animation of objects. Today we can just teach an AI bot to walk all by itself, very much the way a child learns how to walk. It just learns by itself. And AI is here today, and we're putting it into our games that we've got under development. We've got a major new title coming out called Arc Raiders, and the death robots that we put in the game, they all learned how to walk and move around through using AI tools.
So, Owen, you're saying that this offers a massive opportunity, essentially, for game companies, and you've got to follow some of the trends, and there are 2 you've identified. Can you please tell us a bit more about them?
Well, one is around locomotion, which I mentioned before, and I think you were just showing a video of how, you know, simulated objects, people or robots can walk around in a very, very realistic way. The second would be around voice. We are putting voice into games today where we can say, oh, we'd like a little bit of British accent, we'd like a little bit of German accent, and that's our announcer for the game, or that's a colleague that you're playing in-game. We used to have to do voice recordings of actual actors. Today we can just write the script, run it through our model, and or run it through the tool, and you will have voice in the game immediately. It's very fast, it's very inexpensive, and it radically reduces the cost and the time required to put voice into a game, which is of course a big cost. And game development cost is a very big topic right now. You know, games cost $100 million to develop at the AAA level, and they're quickly moving past $200 million. So the idea of being able to use a tool that radically reduces the cost is significant. We also can use it the new tools to bring in new objects into a game very, very quickly. We can take a video, and that video can be put into the tool. The tool immediately develops a 3D model. We can modify and sort of refine that 3D model, and then that 3D model can be put into the game very, very quickly. So content generation is a very big deal, and we can do that using new tools that are available today. So this is revolutionary. We think this is a bonanza for the games industry.
So what we're talking about in a holistic way is that this is an industry which is becoming, I mean, it's always been interactive, but this is taking it to an Uber level, if you like, of interaction. Now, this is something which is very difficult to deal with, perhaps, and, you know, what's the impact of disruptive technologies, such as AI and others, on the legacy entertainment world now? How are they coping?
Well, you know, I think this is like any sort of Schumpeterian change in an industry where new technology changes things a lot and creates a new class of creators. And certainly that's true here. I think what the new tools enable for us and for other game developers and publishers is to create very quickly a lot of great new content, a lot of great new experiences very quickly. And it has 3 impacts. Number 1, it speeds things up significantly, and that's a major problem in games development today. Second, it makes game development an order of magnitude less expensive. We have, on some of our largest games, teams of only 150 people developing what is a AAA game. And game development, as you probably heard, oftentimes these days AAA game developments can have teams that exceed 1,000 people, which is a real problem for the industry. So it speeds things up. The third thing, and perhaps most suddenly, is it puts game developers and creative people much closer to the process of developing games and iterating on interesting ideas. And you know, previously, if you had to have a team of 1,000 people making a AAA game, that means you have to have huge HR problems and huge management. It's a very cumbersome process, but what the new tools is get us right down into game development much more quickly, and that enables us to iterate on ideas faster, and ultimately that creates better games. And I think this is a boon to the industry. So it enables a lot of people to do great new things, and so we're very hopeful and very excited about it.
I mean, how are you doing in China, and what are you making of the regulatory environment, and you know, are you growing your business there in any way?
Well, China remains a terrific market for us. We, you know, we think that China continues to be very exciting. Our largest franchise in China is called Dungeon & Fighter. It's one of the largest entertainment franchises of all time. And we remain excited for the mobile version of Dungeon & Fighter when it comes out. Well over 60 million people have pre-registered for that game. And so we join those 60+ million people in being very excited for the launch of the mobile version of one of the biggest entertainment franchises of all time, which is Dungeon & Fighter. And we think China continues to be a very exciting market for us.
Now, your presentation today was entitled Revenge of the Nerds, Investing in Global Entertainment. What was your thesis, very quickly?
Yeah. Well, the thesis is that in any social group, there's the sort of self-appointed tastemakers, the people who tell you what's cool, the things, they tell you what matters and what doesn't matter. And then there's another group of people who sort of go against the grain and say, actually, that doesn't matter. And we were sort of having fun with the idea that the games industry in some ways looks a little bit like the high school that many of us went to, where these two social groups were at odds with each other. And the tastemakers have told us over the last 10 years that things like esports was going to be the next big thing that changes everything, and the metaverse was going to create a whole new class of winners and losers, and VR was the next big thing. And the nerds, the people who saw through and really focused on the user experience, those people spent their money elsewhere. Those companies said, you know what, AI is really important. We can use it today. We can put it into our games today. And so they didn't spend all the many billions of dollars that the cool kids spent on those sort of big topics of the day, and they instead spend it on something else. And oftentimes, the nerds hold secrets. And so our message to investors was, pay attention to the nerds. Those people oftentimes will have things that will make you money. And they'll help you see through the hype cycles that every age has. Every age has its hype cycle, and you need to kind of see through that if you're going to be successful in investing in the games business.
Owen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Owen Mahoney, the President and Chief Executive of Nexon, there with the future of gaming and beyond, and the Revenge of the Nerds, of course, there as well.